Klokologist. To better understand the band itself, we turn to the world's foremost expert on Dethklok, Moordhouse Klokologist, Dr. Linda Perwindinsin Von Struesselvich. Doctor?
Thank you, Clocketeer. Dethklok is without a doubt the world's largest cultural influence to date. From amassing a cult following to being responsible for multiple shifts in the worlds of art, literature, sports, and even film. They have truly carved their name in the dirt of the earth. With so many accomplishments, the world can't help but wonder how they became who they are. Who they are exactly, and what was the cause to such brutality. Well, in my years of research, I have found certain links that indicate that each member of Dethklok is an embodiment of metal itself. Follow me here. Dethklok is more than merely a band. They are the windows into the soul of humanity, the saviours of all that is unholy, the messiahs of metal. For not only have they resurrected an art form, they have also breathed life into the natural order and began to move the very gears of society that shapes us. So what are these ideals they embody? Well, let's start with an easy one, shall we? William Murderface, hatred. William displays an abundant amount of self-loathing and hatred. These emotions control every action of Murderface's life, from headbutting royalty on stage to his parents' murder-suicide. He was poised from a very young age to represent the cruelty and the malice behind the band's sound. William often self-harms and takes great joy in the sorrow of others. Despite the fact that he is a mediocre bassist, Dethklok could not be as dark and as brutal as it is without the pure, unfiltered hate William provides. Toki Wartooth. Death. Toki was raised in an abandoned village in Norway by his extremely religious parents. They never spoke to Toki, and oftentimes would go to great lengths to punish him from a very young age. Due to the brutal nature of his upbringing, Lord Wartooth's mental age never progressed past the age of 9, unlike the average 14, like the rest of the band. Toki is indeed an outlier of the band. He is oftentimes left out on purpose, and regarded to be the least metal member of Dethklok, according to the band itself. But despite his kind and caring demeanour, underneath that innocent smile is the face of death itself. For you see, Toki is the avatar of death. Throughout this first year of the documentary, we see that whoever is in contact with Toki for too long, outside of the band, is surely destined to die. This is a very common occurrence with Lord Wartooth. It is the reason he doesn't like doing meet and greets with the Make-A-Wish kids anymore. Even though his heart breaks upon each passing, it is the metal flowing through his veins and the brutality ingrained that fuel his death power. Squizgar, Squizgar. Life. Squizgar is the avatar or the embodiment of life itself. Raised by a Swedish pageant queen mother, from a very young age, Squizgar avoided his feelings of isolation and abandonment by focusing solely on being the best guitarist on earth. We have no record of who his father is, leading some in my department to mystically speculate. Given Squizgar's animalistic sexual appeal and habits, it is easy to see why he represents life itself. We currently have agents monitoring his progeny in the field. Nathan Explosion. Power. Nathan is an interesting case, and does not have the standard brutal upbringing like the rest of the group. He comes from a loving family that sees Nathan as a proud accomplishment. Although not as twisted as the rest, it is their mundane nature that fuels Nathan's brutality. His unbridled chaos can be felt in each show, and the power of both his words and his actions can be felt around the globe. Curiously enough, Nathan is the only member of Dethklok to hold several steady relationships in his time with the band. Though they often complicate the dynamic and cause a strain on the band creatively, Nathan is still able to love and express that love, which can be quite powerful. Lastly, we have Pickles the drummer. Indulgence. The youngest of 2 boys, Pickles was always at the mercy of his older brother. Rather than punish him, their parents tended to blame Pickles instead. When his older brother burned down the garage, naturally Pickles was to blame. So he turned to alcohol to numb his rage and anxiety. Through his years as a musician in Dethklok and Snakes and Barrels, Pickles has been an agent of indulgence. So much so that he has developed an immunity to most substances, requiring Clocketeers to invent new ones for him so he may, as he puts it, get the party started. Although often the most drunk member of the band, Pickles can indulge at a rate of 20 times more than his band members before we see a decrease in his musical skill. I do find it interesting that despite his flaws and abuse suffered, Pickles tends to act as the voice of reason or older brother for the band. When we look at the documentary through this lens, we start to understand why Dethklok is so powerful. Each avatar, when added together, equals a 5-point pentagram of the Great Doom Star. Together, these 5 musicians use their natural-born personas to channel the band's power. On numerous occasions, we have seen the band's eyes glow red, almost in delight and hatred. This is their power starting to manifest. We see this in several examples in the first year of the documentary. First, when their psychologist is being eaten alive by wolves, and second, when the band experiments with the blues, killing dozens of hippies and scaring even the devil himself. Whether it's the power to raise lake trolls or the almost genocidal wave of carnage following the music, it's easy to see their power well before it even fully manifests. Another great example is when Murderface attempted to observe religion for about a week. His presence in the Satanic Temple alone was enough to raise demons from the underworld, longing for his approval and pledging their allegiance to the band. It seems no matter what they do, Dethklok can't help but shape our reality. Stick with me each Deathcast as we observe this power and just what it means to the prophecy and the coming Metalocalypse. I suppose I shall return to the research library and continue my thesis. From the Mordhaus Klokologist department, I've been Dr. Linda Perwindinsin Von Struesselvich. Thank you.